I've written a lot of books, so many in fact that it might be a little bit difficult to know what they're about. So in tandem with my lore videos, I will be releasing videos like this that break down what to expect from each book. And to start, we will begin with the book that really started it all, Blood of One's Blood, my first book. Blood of One's Blood and its future entries are the epic fantasy saga from which all of my other books spin off from. Yes, you heard that right. Each book is set in the same world and works to add context and characterization to everything you'll find within Blood of One's Blood. I always liken it to how the Avengers movies are at the core of Marvel, while the individual character movies made us familiar with the characters and the context. This was my approach to writing my series as well. Since Blood of One's Blood is epic fantasy, a full picture of its sprawling storylines and scope might be too much to fit into one video, but I can tell you about the core narratives within. The book follows three main POVs. First is the vengeful eastern prince of the Rhegon, Rhegon. War had ravaged his people, and the empire he was meant to inherit, as well as his father, were taken from him as a baby. In order to survive, he was spirited away by his mother to be raised in a distant land. 17 years later, Rhegon has come of age and decided to declare a Shavana a life's goal. For Rhegon's people, the Rhegon, a Shavana is the only way to be considered an adult, and once started can never be stopped. One cannot get married, own land, or serve the gods without completing a Shavana, so the task chosen must be carefully thought through. Rhegon, high in front of a crowd of the few remaining subjects he had, declared his Shavana to be the recovery of his father's lost legendary golden arcana sword, Reyes, seen here on the cover of the book. Reyes had the power to cut through any metal, turn objects into solid gold, and even bring the dead back to life. Among all the magical arcana in the world, it was considered the king. But Rhegon did not stop there. To the shock of his people and eventually the world, Rhegon declared a double Shavana. The additional life's goal he saddled himself with was the murder of Derek Hagar, the emperor of those who had massacred Rhegon's people and killed his father. The citizens before Rhegon rejoiced, long thirsty for revenge against the Northerners, but the world shuddered. The Rhegon were known far and wide as the most dangerous killers to stand upright, able to summon their arcana weapons to hand with just a thought, and Rhegon, as the Rhegon prince, was the most dangerous of them all. He had trained from a young age to be a killer and had done so many times, but now he had his most important target in sight. With a goodbye to his friends and family, Prince Rhegon set off on his own to murder an emperor. Blood of One's Blood follows this angry teenaged assassin on his journey of self-discovery, healing, vengeance, and all the trials that come with it. However, Blood of One's Blood also focuses on Rhegon's target, Emperor Derek Hagar. Just before Rhegon declared his Shavana, Derek Hagar traveled from his homeland of Vaemon to the southern empire of Centralis. He did so to meet with other powerful royals in a forum called the Hand of the World. The diplomatic group formed after the horrific Rhegon genocide 17 years prior, established so that no war so damaging could ever be waged again. Think of the United Nations being created after World War II. It's at this meeting that Emperor Derek Hagar meets our next POV character, the young Queen Exenna Pendant of the Commonwealth of Expia. Exenna is a telepath, and a very powerful one at that, along with many of her people. Upon hearing about Prince Rhegon's declared assassination at the meeting, Exenna approaches Derek Hagar with an offer of sanctuary within her kingdom. Derek graciously accepts, but what he doesn't know is that Exenna's offer was not so kind at all. Exenna loathes Derek, and it all stems from his participation in the Rhegon genocide years ago. Even though the war was hundreds of miles away from Expia or Centralis, the carnage of the conflict became so terrible that many foreign nobles started to send aid and support to the Rhegon. One such source of aid came from Exenna's aunt, who personally went to Runequill to provide food, water, and medical attention to those most in need. But Exenna's aunt never returned, nor was her body ever found. A princess of Expia had vanished into thin air. Once the war ended after 10 grueling years, the generals and soldiers of Vaemon were put on trial by the hand of the world for their horrid actions against the Rhegon. Telepaths from Exenna's own country dug through their minds to unearth their terrible war secrets. But Emperor Derek Hagar never stood trial, never answered for anything, and never revealed to the world what happened to Exenna's royal aunt. So if he would not be judged then, Exenna would have him judged now. The young queen's hidden agenda is to lure the Northern Emperor to her land under the guise of friendship, diplomacy, and protection from the Rhegon prince seeking his head, all while hoping to finally put him on trial for the war crimes he was never held accountable for. Blood of One's Blood follows Exenna's journey of smiling in the face of a man she considers a monster, traveling with him, and learning not only of his past, but that of her own family. Yet the danger is that Emperor Derek Hagar is far more cunning than he looks, and may very well have his own secret plans for her. The last major POV in Blood of One's Blood is yet again linked to the Rhegon genocide. While Prince Rhegon and his royal mother were able to flee with other wealthy and noble Rhegon, many of the poorer and less fortunate citizens were stuck in place to deal with the northern invasion. After the war ended, the land that was once Rhegon became a lawless haven of crime lords and robber kings. For years, the cutthroats ruled uncontested, until one man started wiping them out and uniting the commoners under his leadership. The Eastern savior named himself Rathon, styling himself after the gods of the Rhegon, the Wraiths, and the emperors of the Rhegon, always named Rhegon, hence Rathon. This man quelled the lawless turmoil of the East, proclaimed himself as a god, and now travels west towards the Empire of Centralis with his intentions unknown and very unsettling. Many nobles in Centralis are stressed to see this approaching Rhegon horde, thinking of it as nothing more than an army in wait. And none are more stressed than the elderly leader of Centralis, Luster Tellin. He made the hard decision years ago to keep Centralis neutral and out of the Rhegon genocide, fearing the enemies he would make if he supported either side. Now, with the Rhegon approaching his border, his fears are mounting once again. Fortunately, there are those in Luster's court that feel they have a solution, namely his adoptive son, Prince Jackal, our final POV character. Jackal is Rhegon by blood and has all the summoning powers that come with it, but he also has a deep hatred for the Rhegon culture and its people because they abandon him. Now, Jackal calls Centralis his home, dyed his hair blonde to match his adoptive family, and stands as the Sword of Nightshine, the Bright Star's most favored warrior and bodyguard. Jackal has long heard rumors about this warrior priest, Rathon, approaching the border, and has seen the stress it has caused his royal father. His solution? Simple. Kill Rathon. Without a head, the Rhegon snake can no longer slither forward. But he can't do it so brazenly. A prince of Centralis cutting down a Rhegon priest, warrior or not, would not look good on a global stage. The hand of the world would certainly protest. So Jackal, with the help of some shadowy friends, embarks on a journey to kill Rathon in secret and rid his adoptive father of this wretched Eastern worry. Blood of One's Blood follows Jackal on his quest to prove his worth. Along the way, he will learn of the culture that gave him up as a child and come face to face with the past that he has tried so hard to forget. As I said, Blood of One's Blood is an epic fantasy with a sprawling cast, but I wrote it to be accessible to all readers. At just over 150 pages, it's a fast-paced, high-octane novel that thrusts you right into my world and gets you ready for all the other stories to come. And videos will be out for them too. If you're interested in reading Blood of One's Blood or any of my other books, check them out on my website. I'll leave a link below. It's through the sales of these books that I'm able to fund my art and this channel. And if you have any questions about the books or stories, please feel free to comment. As always, it was a pleasure, and I'll talk to you all again soon.